The Vraxian Empire had conquered 47 galaxies. Their warships blotted out suns. Their ground forces crushed civilizations beneath boots forged from the cores of dead stars. For 12 millennia, they had been unstoppable, until they reached a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Commander Ayla Chen stood on the observation deck of the UNSC Indomitable, watching the Vraxian dreadnought hover motionlessly above Earth's atmosphere. It had been there for 3 days now, waiting, watching, not attacking. "They're afraid," said Jackson Torres, the ship's strategic analyst, as he approached with a datapad clutched in his tattooed hands. "The intercepted communications confirm it. They're actually afraid of us." Ayla turned to face him, her scarred face betraying no emotion. 20 years of military service had taught her to mask her feelings, but inside, she felt the same electric thrill that must be coursing through every human on the planet below. The unstoppable conquerors were hesitating. "What exactly are they saying?" she asked. Jackson pulled up the translated transmissions. "This is from their fleet admiral to the Vraxian High Command. Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are unnatural. They should not exist. Recommend full extermination protocols, but approach with extreme caution." The words hung in the air between them like a death sentence and a compliment rolled into one. The Vraxian first contact had occurred 6 months earlier. Their demands were simple: submit or die. They gave humanity 72 hours to surrender. The United Nations responded by launching every weapon in Earth's arsenal: nuclear missiles, kinetic bombardments, experimental plasma cannons directly at the Vraxian scout fleet. The weapons barely scratched their shields. Then something unexpected happened. The Vraxians didn't immediately retaliate. Instead, they retreated beyond the moon and began studying humanity with an intensity that bordered on obsession. They intercepted human broadcasts, hacked into databases, and observed from orbit as if humanity were a particularly venomous species that needed careful categorization before handling. Why? Ayla had asked the question 1,000 times. Why are they so cautious? The answer came from an unlikely source: a Vraxian defector named Kelth who had smuggled himself aboard a human cargo vessel. The creature stood before the UN Security Council, its 6 eyes blinking in sequence as it spoke through a translator device. "You are Deathworlders," Kelth explained, its mandibles clicking nervously. "We have conquered thousands of species across countless galaxies, but we have never encountered anything like you." The delegates exchanged confused glances. "Earth seemed perfectly normal to them," Kelth continued, its voice trembling with what the translator interpreted as fear. "Your planet should not harbor intelligent life. The gravity is crushing. The oxygen levels are toxic. Your weather patterns are violent beyond measure. The microbial life alone would kill most species within hours, and yet you thrive." "We evolved here," said Secretary General Amara Okonkwo simply. "This is normal for us." "Normal?" Kelth repeated the word like a curse. "You call this normal? Your average human child could tear apart a Vraxian warrior with their bare hands. Due to your muscle density, your immune systems are so aggressive that you can literally die from them being too effective. You heal from wounds that would kill us. You have endurance that makes you apex persistence hunters. And worse, far worse, you have something we have never encountered in any species." "What's that?" Amara leaned forward. "You refuse to give up." Kelth's eyes all focused on her at once. "Every species we have conquered knew when they were beaten. They understood mathematical certainty. When faced with impossible odds, they surrendered to preserve some remnant of their people. But humans?" The alien made a sound like grinding metal. "Humans become more dangerous when cornered. Your history is filled with impossible victories. Last stands that should have been massacres and individuals who chose death over submission. You are collectively insane." Back in the present, Ayla watched as more Vraxian ships entered Earth's orbit. They were gathering their forces, but still, they did not attack. "They're trying to calculate acceptable losses," Jackson said, reading her thoughts. "They're running simulations, trying to figure out how to conquer Earth without losing too much of their fleet. And what are the simulations telling them?" Jackson smiled grimly. "That even if they win, humanity will make them bleed for every inch of ground. That will fight in our cities, in our homes, in the irradiated wastelands they leave behind. That will use weapons they consider barbaric. That will never stop resisting, even if it takes generations. The simulations are telling them that conquering Earth might cost them their entire empire. A priority communication came through. It was from the Vraxian fleet admiral, directed at all human military channels. The translation was simple. Proposal for negotiation. The Vraxian Empire wishes to establish a mutual non-aggression pact with humanity. Ayla felt something she hadn't felt since the crisis began. Hope. They're offering peace? Jackson sounded incredulous. Not peace, Ayla corrected. A ceasefire born from fear. They've realized that some planets aren't worth conquering. The message continued. Humanity will be granted protectorate status. Any species that threatens Earth will be considered an enemy of the Vraxian Empire. In exchange, humanity agrees not to expand beyond its solar system for 1,000 standard years. It was a cage, Ayla realized, but one with golden bars. The Vraxians were buying time, hoping to develop countermeasures or perhaps hoping humanity would destroy itself before venturing to the stars. Should we accept? Jackson asked. Ayla looked down at Earth at the blue marble that had forged humanity in its crucible of evolution. She thought about the thousands of generations who had survived ice ages and plagues, who had climbed from the mud to reach for the stars, who had never, not once, bowed to the inevitable. We'll accept, she said finally, but we'll also prepare. Because in 1,000 years when that treaty expires, we won't be the species they remember. We'll be stronger, more advanced, more dangerous. She smiled, and it was the smile of a predator that had just learned it was feared. And then the galaxy will learn what it truly means to face humanity unchained.